Cancer, hello, Amanda here. Welcome to Unseen Hands Healing. This is going to be your small story reading for February. Sorry about the delay with this small story coming out. I have been under the weather and now I'm back. All right, so for those of you who are new to the channel, for these small story readings, I choose a book off the shelf that seems to want to speak to you. I turn to a passage at random and I'll read that to you, and then we will further illuminate the message or the story through the cards. All right, so Cancer, today we've got Women Who Run with the Wolves. That's the book that wants to speak to you by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estés. Okay, we've got the story of the skeleton woman here. All right, I'm not gonna, the chapter is called Hunting, When the Heart is a Lonely Hunter. Okay, I'm not gonna read the skeleton woman story to you. Highly recommend this book, and you can read it for yourself, but essentially, a woman was cast into the ocean by her father for something she had done, and she sank to the bottom and became a skeleton, where she stayed for many years until a fisherman who was fishing in the area, which was, you know, many years later famed to be haunted, and he wasn't from that area, he didn't know it was haunted. He cast his line into the ocean and it hooked onto the skeleton woman's rib, and he thought he caught a huge fish, and so he pulled and pulled and pulled it up, and suddenly when it bobbed to the surface, he realized it was a skeleton and thought he was being haunted by something horrible, and so he rowed his kayak to the shore. But of course, because the skeleton was tangled in his fishing line, it followed him, and so he thought he was being chased. He rowed and rowed and rowed into the safety of his tent, where, because she was caught on his fishing line, she followed, and then slowly over the course of the night, you know, once he lit a fire, he realized it was the skeleton of a person, and so he kind of tried to put it back together and suddenly felt tenderly about it. And over the course of the night, she began to grow flesh, and they came together in union. Okay, and so the passage that wants to come through here for you, I'm going to read a couple of things to you, Cancer. Inability to face and untangle the skeleton woman is what causes many love relationships to fail. To love, one must not only be strong, but wise. Strength comes from the spirit. Wisdom comes from skeleton woman. As we see in the tale, if one wishes to be fed for life, one must face and develop a relationship with the life, nature. When we have that, we are no longer bumbling along fishing for fantasies, but are made wise by the necessary deaths and startling births that create true relationship. And I think it's important to note that those necessary deaths and startling births happen in a cycle. So where there's startling births, there will be necessary deaths again, and then more rebirth and more death. That is the cycle of life, and therefore the cycle of relationship. And then we go to this passage here, talking about lovers taking space from one another. There is a vast difference between the need for solitude and renewal, and the desire to take space to avoid the inevitable intercourse with skeleton woman, who's symbolizing this death, rebirth cycle. But intercourse, meaning exchange with and acceptance of the death, the life, nature, is the next step in order to strengthen one's ability to love. Those who enter into relationship with her, the skeleton woman, will gain an enduring skill for love. Those who won't. There's no way around it. All the not readies, all the I need time are understandable, but only for a short while. The truth is that there will never be a completely ready. There is never a really right time. As with any descent to the unconscious, there comes a time when one simply hopes for the best, pinches one's nose, and jumps into the abyss. If this were not so, we would not have the need to create the words heroine, hero, or courage. So Cancer, it seems that we're looking at maybe a love relationship or the presence of a lover of intimacy in your life that maybe you're on the verge of or coming out of taking some sort of space you're looking at an obstacle in a love relationship and thinking that maybe we need to take space. And there's a question here of like, is the taking space a time for solitude and renewal, or is the taking space in avoidance of looking at what's actually happening between you, which is this cycle of death, life, rebirth that is inevitable, and working through those cycles can be something that teaches us about enduring love, you know, not just the Ace of Cups in the tarot, that like joyful, the birth part of love, but what about the death part of love? And how do we navigate those cycles, the descent as well as the ascent? Okay, interesting. Let's pull cards and see where this is going. We're using the El Goliath Shadow deck today. Couple shuffles. Okay, and then I'm going to spread them out and choose 3 for you, Cancer. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Uh-huh. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. The Eight of Swords, which in this deck is labeled the Imprisoned Bear. Hidden Inner Strength, or the Shadow Cat. And then the Three of Pentacles, I think it says the 3 Wise Masters. So to me, there's this sort of like, we're seeing a bear trapped under the ice. Or at least that's what it looks like to me. The Eight of Swords talks about mental blocks, mental traps, feeling stuck in some sort of mental imprisonment that is difficult to break out of. And it's interesting too, because if this is like, if you imagine that the bear is trapped under the ice, it's like the bear can see through the ice to the surface, to up into the clear air, but for some reason is trapped under this like mental, emotional, hard layer. Like I'm imagining this like thick ice layer that's trapping the bear. You can see through to the other side, but you can't seem to bust out of it. That's the sense that I'm getting here. And then we have this hidden inner strength coming out, Cancer. What's beautiful about this card, you know, there's a lot of talk in spiritual communities and tarot community about shadow work, you know, which comes through in this passage that we just read about the things that bubble up from the unconscious, the things that are normally kept below the surface. If we look at that as a definition of the shadow self, or the part of ourselves that doesn't often see the light of day. It's interesting to me in this card how we may see the cat, and the shadow is actually this like fierce wolf, or like a big cat, you know, like a leopard or a panther, something like that. And so the power actually lies in the part of you that is not normally seen. That's what I'm getting from this card. And it's sort of like, that's the way out of this trap. That's the way to bust through the surface. And maybe that's even what's trying to bust through the surface, is this like larger part of you that perhaps you are afraid of, or part of you that this relationship is triggering. Maybe, you know, if that's applicable to your situation, there's a relationship, romantic or otherwise, some sort of intimate relationship that's triggering this part of you that you would rather keep below the surface. Some sort of emotional aspect of yourself that you would much rather keep in the shadows. But the reason it's being brought out maybe through this intimate relationship that I'm picking up on is so that you can see that that's actually a huge strength of yours. This part of you that you maybe feel shame around is actually a huge strength of yours if you can allow it to be seen. If you can allow it to break free. And then look at this. It seems to me that the same animal here, whatever this is, you, Cancer, is now standing here before this wise council of masters, this council of three, who is here to help you. They seem to be here to help you through these like beautiful earth. It's like this sort of ascended, higher spiritual council is here to help you through this process. It's so interesting that we get this story about navigating the cycles of enduring love in long-term, specifically romantic intimacy. And yet this reading is all about you, Cancer. You know, this is all about you. And you accepting help, the wisdom of your elders, or the wisdom of a team, a higher spiritual team that's here to teach you about yourself, to help break a part of you free from imprisonment. And I'm getting that it's a part of you that perhaps is it's something that you fear, and so you keep it hidden deep inside. Who, Cancer? Okay, we're gonna get you a portable fortitude deck, Karina Dross, beautiful deck. So as I shuffle here, those of you who are new, I'm gonna take this reading into an extended. This is a pretty general sentiment that's coming through in this small story, and I want to flesh it out fully in the rest of this reading here. So we're going to really look at this imprisoned bear and this shadow cat, like what part of yourself is being held captive and being kept below the surface, and what does this wise counsel have to say to you? What is the teaching of this wise counsel, and what are they trying to bring out, and what does all this have to do with a romantic relationship? So we're really going to dive into this reading now. If you're interested in that, stick around. I'm going to put a little preview of that extended reading at the end of this video. If it's resonating with you, you can click the link in the description box below. That'll take you over to Vimeo, where you can view this extended reading instantly over there. Okay, so before I leave you here, Cancer, let's get you a portable fortitude card. What is the fortitude that Cancer needs during this time? Fortitude for Cancer during this time. Okay, got a lot of cards falling, 2 flipped up. So we're gonna take the ones that flipped. I'm actually curious. I want to see what the other ones are. Oh, wow. It's actually these two. It's funny. The ones that flipped to the surface, I didn't feel like they had any sort of applicable nature to this reading. The 2 that were face down are exact. So here we go. Protection from those who love you, and protection from the abyss. I mean, come on. That is this reading exactly. Interesting that we've got this like wolf sort of shadow animal coming in twice here. And it's like this, it's very much like a little Red Riding Hood kind of tale. And the hunter that comes with the axe as the key to opening up the insides of the wolf and freeing this little Red Riding Hood from the belly of the beast. That is exactly what we're talking about here in this reading, Cancer. Those protection from those you love. It's kind of like cheeky, these two cards for you here in this moment. They're coming through as like, again, it brings me back to this idea that Dr. Estés is saying, which is like, are you taking space from those you love to avoid this underbelly, to avoid what is coming up from the unconscious? Or, you know, is the space necessary for a little bit of solitude and renewal? You know, only you'll be able to answer that. But it's interesting that, like, it seems like this, that's funny too, because I felt like I needed to tell you the title of the chapter, which was it was The Hunter. The heart is a lonely hunter. And then we have in the tail of the Little Red Riding Hood, the hunter is the one that comes along with the axe and frees her from the belly of the beast. So it's sort of speaking to me that this, whoever I'm picking up on, and this won't be for everyone, Cancer, obviously, but it's like, if you're in an intimate partnership, and I'm not talking about like situations that are not right for you. That's not who I'm talking to here. I'm talking to someone that's in a partnership. You've hit a rough patch. You really feel like this could be a good match together, but for some reason you've hit a rough patch and there's this like turning point of, do we take space? Do we try to work through this? And I'm feeling that your partner here has the key to help free you, to help free this part of you that's normally kept in the shadows, and that there is great wisdom to be gained in that path. And then what's beautiful here is, like, again, it's pretty cheeky, protection from the abyss. We've got all of this imagery in this reading, even in the story, of like something coming up from the depths of the ocean, like the fisherman hooking the line and pulling something up from the abyss that maybe is something that you fear, right? Oh my gosh, I can't think of a more terrifying place, frankly, than like the abyss at the bottom of the sea. And yet that's exactly what needed to come up in order for the two of them to come into union together. So it's like, don't fear the abyss. Don't fear those who love you and what they could offer you in terms of freedom. Gorgeous, Cancer. Okay, I can't wait to dive into this. Maybe I'll see you over on Vimeo, but regardless, Cancer, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this reading, please do click that like button, leave me a comment, let me know how it's resonating with you. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so that you can stay updated on when these readings are posted. All right, Cancer, thanks for watching. Take care. I'm feeling that maybe I'm speaking to someone who has been taking some space in a relationship, because that's the Hanged One energy. Okay, let's just like let this hang, let air out, let's let this dry out. And there's a sense here with the Page of Cups and the Hangman being in reverse, that this thing that has been kept below the surface is now ready to be released. And so in whatever way this is applying to you, Cancer, you're coming out of Hanged Man mode. You're coming out of suspension, maybe within this romantic partnership, coming out of a break, beginning to come back together with a sense of emotional renewal. The Page of Cups, the pages are a messenger. So maybe it's like this message of, hey, I don't want to be on a break anymore. Hey, listen, while we've been taking some space, while this has been hanging in limbo, I've really come to some sort of emotional understanding that I want to share that with you. I want to express that to you. That's this Page of Cups energy.